What's up, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Keane, and we're returning to Perfect Symmetry 2008. Thank you as always to Phil. And the next track is You Haven't Told Me Anything. So I feel like you could read a couple different attitudes into a phrase that is otherwise straightforward. The speaker is suggesting another person has not communicated any information, perspective, feeling. It could be read as judgmental in tone, the idea you haven't told me anything, with the implication that somebody should, that they should have conveyed their ideas, their thoughts, their feelings, their perspective on the situation. It could be more inert, meaning just it's literally an articulation of the idea that the other person has not yet started receiving information. But if I'm inclined to hypothesize, I would say I see it as more likely that there is some measure of indignation or judgment for the lack of information coming the speaker's way. I'll see what I can catch on first listen. This is Keane. The tune is You Haven't Told Me Anything, and it's from their 2008 album Perfect Symmetry. I was like, is that static, like my system?
Take a beautiful thing, pull off the wing, safety pin that never shines quite as bright again. But you haven't told me anything that I didn't already know. No, you haven't said a single thing that I didn't already know. Everything I love stuck in my mind, stuck in the mud, stuck in the rut. Not a piece in your puzzle or a paper card. So same time next week, kiss on the cheek, say after me, everything's tied up nice and neat. But you haven't told me anything that I didn't already know. No, you haven't told me anything that I didn't already know. I feel for you, I really do. Nothing ends up like you want it to. No words can mend these fix I'm in. Give me your worst, I won't even blink. Right between the eyes, I won't feel a thing. Because you haven't told me anything that I didn't already know. No, you haven't said a single thing that I didn't already know. No, you haven't told me anything that I didn't already know.
So, yeah, as you may have noticed at the very beginning, I wasn't sure if that gritty, almost static type sound was like my speakers somehow messed up. But, I've done other reactions prior to this tonight, and I didn't hear anything like that. So then, as the more it played out, the more I realized it was just a gritty sonic element, which gave the track a bit of edge, which seems to fit with the lyrics, and perhaps I should have thought of that larger phrase. You haven't told me anything I didn't already know. And I think, like, once, I thought I heard a variant, like, you didn't tell me anything, or you haven't told me anything I didn't already own, which sounds like it's still maybe expressing a tone of frustration or indignation, but a recognition perhaps that this is a two-sided story or a two-sided situation. But overall, the vibe that I got from the lyrics was the speaker is feeling like the other person is either giving excuses, rationales, or words that are not changing anything, they're not fixing anything, and they are at best a distraction from the unavoidable reality, which, given the metaphor, the very dark visual metaphor of taking a beautiful thing and pulling the wings off, which, unfortunately is sort of a metaphor people use in relation to butterflies. I hope there aren't people out there who actually take the wings off butterflies, but it's a phrase that's used to mean being cruel to something simple and innocent, seemingly needlessly, callously, like destroying something just for the sake of doing it. So it sounds like the speaker is saying to this other person that you ruined a good thing capriciously for no reason that I can understand, and all the words you're giving me to explain it or to justify your position, they're not really changing anything, and you've said all this anyway. I know all this. Now, if I'm right about that variant, you haven't told me anything I didn't already own, it sounds like maybe there's an acknowledgement on the speaker's part that, look, I know I'm not perfect. I know some of the things that I've done are what led us here. They're one of the ingredients for this recipe of disaster that has now obtained or occurred, but you've already said that. I know that, so stop wasting your breath. Stop frustrating me in terms of, thinking that what you're saying now is in any way novel or inclined to fix this problem, this disconnect, this situation. So I think it's easy to interpret all that in relation to a relationship gone bad, but there's maybe, more nuance that it could be beyond or different from a romantic relationship. It could be a professional relationship where, they became like oil and water and they just couldn't work together, and the other person is saying, well, it's because you're always so controlling, or you're always doing things your way. It's like, look, you've already told me that, I know that, but you're being disagreeable, you're never willing to compromise yourself. It feels like it could be a couple different types of relationships, but it certainly doesn't sound like the speaker is in a good disposition toward this other person. Sonically, I really do enjoy it, and again, that gritty element took me by surprise, but a lot of the sonics are smooth and consonant. I do love that little percussion flourish right before it goes into the chorus, and it's almost like it's hinting, oh, things are about to change at the beginning of the next measure. So I like the way, after you've heard it the first or certainly the second time, when it comes around again, that swelling of sonic density is coming. So again, Chaplin sounding great on the vocals, and it's interesting to hear such a sweet voice sing lines that, as far as I'm interpreting them, are a bit sharp and caustic. It's a nice balance, or maybe even contrast. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I think there's been no tunes from Keane where I haven't said that. They really are a great band, and it's one of those groups where maybe it's just because, in the early to mid 2000s when they were putting out this material, I was focusing on techno parties and going to punk shows and just wasn't paying attention to pop music, at least beyond a couple of groups that I had already listened to for a couple decades by that point. But yeah, it's a shame they didn't come across my radar at the time, because I would have been very interested to follow them. So it is wonderful, again, to catch up now. Thank you to Phil and to all those who've been following the Keane deep dive. Do let me know what you think of this one, and I will see you next time. Peace.